This thrilling story begins by showing a killer. This killer had murdered many people. And now, as he was in a certain place, several police officers arrived to catch him. The killer managed to escape and ran all the way to the top floor of the building. From there, he tried to leave unnoticed. But suddenly, a man appeared in front of him. His name was Archie. Archie wanted to stop the killer because he looked very strange. Without hesitation, Archie pulled out his bow and arrow and aimed directly at the killer. The arrow hit the killer's body, and he collapsed to the ground, dead. After a while, Archie approached the killer and pulled out his arrow. But as soon as he did, the killer suddenly came back to life. Archie seemed happy about this and started laughing, saying, "You've been chosen. You're part of our team. Now go fulfill your purpose." Archie then left the place without saying anything further. Soon, some police officers arrived, but the killer now stood up on his own feet. And here it was revealed that this killer could literally control water. It was such a strange ability that no one could understand it. The killer calmed his mind and surrendered himself to the police. The officers made him sit down for interrogation, not realizing that this might be their final investigation. At first, the killer remained calm. But then, he began using his eternal powers. Water started flooding the entire apartment, and he used this water like bullets to kill all the officers. The killer could fully control water. Before the police could even understand what was happening, they were all dead. After killing everyone, the killer transformed into a powerful force and flew away. What could be the reason behind this? And where did he suddenly get these powers? That would soon become clear. Now on the other side, we're shown a student named Kohici. He had recently come to this city and had been admitted to a school. He was very excited to make new friends. Kohici picked up his bicycle and started riding toward the school. But suddenly, some students began bullying him. Kohici even apologized to them, but they weren't interested in stopping. Another boy passed by, whom the bullies called over and started humiliating. That boy had long hair, and his name was Jojo. Jojo tried to apologize and walk past them, but the bullies made very rude comments about his hair. Now Jojo could tolerate anything, but not an insult about his hair. A pink aura began to surround him, and Jojo started beating the bullies without even touching them. All the bullies started falling here and there. One of them even fell on Koichi's bicycle, breaking it. Kohici just stood there watching, wondering how Jojo had done all this. Jojo then walked up to the bullies, forgave them, and left. Moments later, it was revealed that all the injuries the bullies had suffered were healed. Everything returned to normal, and even Koichi's bicycle was completely repaired. Kohici directly called out to Jojo to talk to him, thinking he must be from the same school. But Jojo wasn't the type to make friends so easily. Without giving Kohici any time, he just walked away. After reaching school, Kohici kept thinking about how Jojo did what he did. Did he have some sort of powers? Or could he control other people's minds? Kohici now desperately wanted to become friends with Jojo and was looking for any opportunity to do so. Meanwhile, the killer had also reached the school garden, possibly in search of his next target. Ahead, two friends were joking around when the killer used his water power. He manipulated some water into a strange structure and forced it straight into one man's mouth. That man's body went completely out of control. He couldn't even breathe properly and began to writhe in pain. Within moments, the man died. The water that had entered the body, still controlled by the killer, then transferred into another man's body nearby. His eyes turned fully red, and he began to behave in a very strange and erratic way. Kohici and his friends had just finished class and were coming outside. Kohici also noticed the man who was behaving abnormally. Even Jojo, upon seeing him for the first time, immediately understood that someone was controlling him. However, the possessed man made a big mistake. He mocked Jojo. Jojo wasn't someone who could tolerate that, not even a little. Once the man realized that Jojo was probably stronger than him, he grabbed a lady nearby and began attacking her brutally. Jojo then used his internal power. With an invisible force, completely unseen by both enemies and bystanders, he struck the man using his own knife. These powers of Jojo's were completely invisible. Meanwhile, the water-powered killer, who had been behind all this, now attempted to attack Jojo. But just then, a large number of police officers began arriving at the scene. Not wanting to get involved with the authorities, Jojo pulled back and left the place. On the other side, we are shown the man named Archie again. This time, holding his bow and arrow, he fires directly at a businessman. The moment the arrow hits, the businessman collapses. Archie arrives and, pulling out the arrow, says, "You could have become powerful too. You could have been chosen. But you turned out to be weak." The truth was that Archie, under someone's command, was selecting people and giving them powers, just like he had given the water powers to that killer earlier. Similarly, Archie had intended to choose the businessman too, but he turned out to be weak. Back at school, we see Kohici riding his bicycle, following Jojo. He was determined to befriend Jojo as soon as possible. But suddenly, while cycling, Kohici lost his balance and was about to fall. At that very moment, time suddenly froze. He found himself safely back in position and was saved. Kohici was completely shocked. Who had done this? Then he realized it was the work of a man standing behind him. This mysterious man also had powers. He could stop time. He approached Kohici and asked, "Where is Jojo? I need to speak to him immediately." So, at the man's request, Kohici took him to Jojo. The man's name was Kel, and he claimed to be Jojo's cousin. Kel told Jojo, "Your father is still alive, and he owns a lot of property and wealth. You can go and inherit all of it." But Jojo simply thanked him and said that he didn't want to go to his father. He wanted to live with his mother and spend the rest of his life with her. Kel tried to convince his brother Jojo, saying, "You are in danger. The powers we have are hereditary, and we must use them wisely and for the right cause." At that moment, some girls approached Jojo, clearly attracted to his hair. Jojo enjoyed the attention, but Kel suddenly made a comment about his hair, something Jojo didn't like at all. Furious, Jojo unleashed his pink soul energy and advanced to attack. But Jojo didn't know that Kel had the same powers. In fact, he was even stronger. Both of their powers emerged, resembling warriors. Only warriors with such abilities could see them. When Jojo attacked, Kel dodged and immediately counterattacked, knocking Jojo back. But Jojo wasn't one to give up so easily. He kept attacking, again and again. Still, Kel easily overpowered him. Kel then told the ladies to leave, and finally, Jojo accepted defeat. He then told Kel everything about the water-powered killer he had encountered. He gave him all the information, after which Kel began to leave, saying, "Whenever you need me, I'll be there. Just take care of yourself." Kel, upon returning home, began thinking about how that water killer might harm Jojo. He had realized that the killer's powers were only effective when water was present nearby. In other words, he needed water around him to use his powers. But what would happen when it rained heavily and there was no shortage of water? The water killer could use his powers with even greater strength. While Kel was thinking all this, the water killer had already reached Jojo's house. He wanted to kill every member of Jojo's family. Heavy rain was pouring all around. There was no shortage of water. Now the killer used his powers to create a clone of himself, gathering all his energy and sending it inside the house with the intent to wipe out Jojo's entire family. First, the water creature entered the drinking water, which Jojo's mother unknowingly drank. But fortunately, Jojo saw it entering. He immediately used his eternal power on his mother, grabbed the water creature, and pulled it out. Everything happened so quickly that Jojo's mother didn't even have a moment to suspect anything. Jojo somehow managed to trap the water creature inside a bottle. He immediately informed his cousin Kel about what had happened, and Kel told him to keep an eye on the creature and that he would be reaching there as soon as possible. But Jojo was extremely careless. Even though he knew how dangerous that creature was, he simply left it in the bottle and went back to playing video games. The creature, on the other hand, was trying its best to free itself. So, it changed the appearance of the bottle to make it look like alcohol. Seeing what appeared to be alcohol, Jojo's grandfather couldn't resist and took the bottle to his room to drink it. Suddenly, a scream came from the room. Jojo rushed there immediately, only to find that his grandfather had been killed. It was clear that this horrible act was done by the dangerous water creature still lurking in the house. Kel arrived at the exact right moment. Jojo, who loved his grandfather dearly, tried to use his power to bring him back to life. But the problem was, although Jojo could regenerate or fix things, he couldn't bring the dead back to life. Those things were related to souls, and his power didn't extend that far. Jojo was deeply heartbroken. Suddenly, strange noises began coming from downstairs. Jojo and Kel rushed down to see what was happening. The water creature had flooded the house with water, meaning it could now be anywhere. It had the ability to control even a single drop of water and hide inside it. The water creature started attacking Jojo in multiple ways, trying to kill him. Why it had such intense hatred for Jojo was something that would become clear later. For now, Jojo was trying his best to survive the attacks. At one moment, the water creature managed to grab Jojo, but Dave, possibly another ally, used his powers to throw the creature off. Kel now warned Jojo to stay even more alert, as the creature had started attacking through the steam inside the house. The visibility dropped due to the rising water vapor. Suddenly, the creature launched a direct attack on Jojo and entered his body. Jojo couldn't control himself, his body started getting possessed. With no other option, Jojo decided to use his eternal power on himself. As he did, his dangerous avatar, or spiritual warrior form, reached into his own body, grabbed the water creature, and sealed it inside a special glove. Apparently, Jojo had anticipated something like this and was fully prepared. He had now successfully trapped the dangerous water creature inside the glove. Outside, the person who had originally created the water creature also began experiencing intense pain. That was because whenever a warrior unleashes their eternal power, any injury to that power is felt by its original creator too. Jojo and Kel finally managed to capture the water creature and, hearing the voice of its owner, stepped outside. The creature had become very weak due to the severe depletion of its internal powers. When questioned, it revealed only one thing. A man wearing a mask shot me with an arrow and gave me these powers. I simply followed his commands. What enraged Jojo the most was that this killer had murdered his grandfather. Furious, Jojo unleashed his eternal power and trapped the killer inside a massive rock. He used his regeneration technique to first break the rock and then reseal it, leaving the killer trapped inside. The killer was stuck so badly that he died shortly after. Jojo and Kel still couldn't understand why all these things were happening, why their family was being targeted. The next day, Jojo was seen at his father's funeral with his entire family. There was a deep sense of sorrow all around. But Jojo noticed something strange. Someone was watching him from afar. It was none other than Archer, who was observing him silently. Jojo started to approach Archer, but just then, someone came up to him and said, "You shouldn't be alone at a moment like this." As Jojo went with Kohici to a quiet spot, a strange man suddenly appeared. That man grabbed Kohici and began to assault him. Then, out of nowhere, an arrow came flying and hit Kohici in the chest. The one who shot the arrow, it was Archie, the same man from earlier. The other man turned out to be Archie's brother. His name was Arthur. Archie then commanded Arthur, "Kill Jojo. You can leave Kohici, he's just a normal human." Jojo, now burning with rage, unleashed his eternal power again. But to his shock, Arthur also possessed the same kind of eternal power. This meant an intense battle between the two was about to begin. Jojo soon realized that Arthur's power allowed him to attack with incredible speed, so much so that Jojo couldn't even find a chance to counterattack. Still, Jojo did everything he could to protect himself and Kohici. After enduring several attacks, Jojo finally noticed something. Arthur's eternal power was concentrated entirely in his right hand. If he could just attack that hand, he might have a chance to win. Jojo began advancing with this plan in mind, but Arthur managed to break free and launch a devastating strike. His attack hit a signboard nearby, and half the board completely changed its form. This revealed something shocking. Arthur's warrior power could alter reality itself. Despite Jojo's best efforts, Arthur's powers were clearly superior. He kept throwing Jojo back, again and again. Jojo was trying everything just to survive, but he knew one thing for sure: he couldn't escape without defeating Arthur. And now, Koichi's life was in grave danger too. Realizing brute strength wouldn't be enough, Jojo decided to stop relying purely on his powers, and started using his wits. Jojo stood in front of a mannequin and provoked Arthur into attacking him. As soon as Arthur unleashed his full powers toward Jojo, Jojo dodged at the last moment, causing Arthur's entire attack to hit the mannequin instead. The mannequin collapsed, and the impact caused Arthur to suffer a serious head injury. He fainted on the spot. Taking advantage of the moment, Jojo immediately rushed inside to save Kohici. Blood was splattered all over the ground. Clearly, Archie had taken Kohici elsewhere. Jojo tracked them and eventually found Kohici unconscious. Jojo wanted to take him somewhere safe, as Kohici wasn't supposed to be involved in this battle at all. Jojo had seen Archie there moments ago, but by the time he looked again, Archie had vanished. Jojo suspected that Archie was using some kind of real power, but he still had no idea what Archie's true strength was. Soon after, Arthur, Archie's brother, arrived at the scene as well. Suddenly, tiny bullets began to rain down from all directions. These bullets were so small and fast that they were nearly invisible. Not only did they hit Jojo, but they also struck Arthur. Arthur's body was marked all over with tiny bullet wounds. But Jojo, being on the side of good, chose to save Arthur despite them being enemies. He carried him to a safe location. During the whole process, Jojo also sustained injuries, but he used his own healing abilities to heal himself and Arthur too. Arthur couldn't understand. Why was Jojo helping him? After all, they had just fought a brutal battle. Still, Jojo remained focused. He wanted to know Archie's weakness. He asked Arthur what Archie's actual powers were, and where he stored his extra energy. Naturally, Arthur wasn't going to give away secrets about his own brother. Why would he reveal Archie's vulnerabilities to an enemy? Jojo then returned to Kohici and began healing him with his powers. But just then, several small helicopters arrived, filled with soldiers, the same soldiers who had been launching those precise attacks earlier. And then the truth was revealed: Archie's real power. Using his eternal powers, Archie could create an unlimited number of these tiny, deadly soldiers. They were so precise in their attacks that it was almost impossible to detect them. And even if one managed to destroy these soldiers, they would double in number, meaning they could never truly be wiped out. Jojo had never seen this kind of power before and had no idea how to even begin finding its weakness. He started sensing an incredibly dangerous energy in the area and decided it was best to get Kohici out of there immediately. But as Jojo tried to escape with Kohici, all those tiny soldiers attacked simultaneously. Military tanks and countless missiles also started firing continuously at them. These soldiers had everything that an actual military force would have: heavy weapons, tanks, missiles. Jojo brought out his eternal powers and deflected every attack aimed at him and Kohici. In the beginning, Jojo fought with speed and strength, but slowly, he started to weaken. The army of soldiers, however, wasn't decreasing in number. In fact, they were attacking even more fiercely now. Archie was also now present at the location, directly controlling all these soldiers. Just then, Kohici noticed one of the tanks moving forward, so he immediately informed Jojo. Jojo began to wonder how Kohici could even see these things. After all, it wasn't something a normal human could do. That's when Jojo realized the truth: Kohici also possessed eternal powers, but he just hadn't discovered or unlocked them yet. Jojo kept fighting the soldiers while Kohici was hiding in a corner. Suddenly, one of the tiny soldier units snuck up to Kohici and stabbed him. The pain was intense, and in that moment, Kohici accidentally unleashed his internal power. But instead of a big creature or warrior, it was a small egg. The egg floated in the air, and Jojo was shocked. What kind of power is this? He wondered. It seemed completely useless. Meanwhile, Jojo was growing weaker and weaker with each fight. Archie then gave a clear command to his soldiers: kill Jojo. Kohici didn't want that to happen and pleaded, "Please, stop the command." But Archie replied coldly, "Once I give the command to my soldiers, even I can't stop them." It meant they would not rest until Jojo was dead. Kohici felt helpless. He had always supported and protected Jojo, but now Jojo was so injured he couldn't use his eternal powers anymore. He needed time to heal. Suddenly, Kohici smashed his floating egg. From within the egg emerged a green-colored creature, mysterious and unknown in its abilities. Archie was distracted by watching the entire process unfold. Jojo took advantage of that moment. He regenerated 2 missiles and redirected them straight toward Archie. Caught off guard, Archie couldn't control the situation. The missiles hit him directly and exploded. He fell to the ground, severely injured, and slowly, his entire army vanished into thin air. Jojo was relieved and happy that Kohici had saved his life, but he knew they needed to escape quickly, no matter what. Suddenly, Jojo and Kohici heard strange noises from above. They both went to check it out. Kohici heard a sound coming from behind a door. When he opened it, a creature burst out and immediately attacked him, trying to injure him. Jojo was there just in time. He used his eternal power to separate the creature from Kohici. It looked like a bizarre, disgusting creature with a horrible face. Meanwhile, Archie was still alive. Severely wounded, he slowly walked over to them and said something shocking. "That creature is none other than my father." Many years ago, Archie's father had taken on this monstrous form due to a curse brought on by an unpaid debt. He was doomed to exist in this world forever, cursed with immortality. No matter how he was destroyed, he would regenerate again and again. Archie's only desire was to free his father from this eternal torment. He could no longer bear to watch him suffer in such a horrifying state. That's why, for years, Archie had been searching for someone with eternal powers strong enough to destroy his father and give him peace. At this point, Jojo and Kohici finally understood: Archie wasn't a villain. He had never been. He was simply a desperate son trying to help his father move on from a cursed existence. Suddenly, Archie's father began searching inside a box nearby. Using his powers, Jojo regenerated the broken box, and a photograph floated out from inside. It was a picture of Archie with his entire family, a moment from before everything had fallen apart. When Archie's father saw that photo, he became emotional. Somewhere, deep inside, his human emotions were still alive. Jojo then looked at Archie and said, "I'll try to destroy your father with my eternal powers. I'll help you." But just then, something unexpected happened. A small, strange toy appeared in the room. At first glance, it looked harmless. But then, it attacked Arthur. It delivered multiple blows to Arthur's body, causing serious damage. Archie realized instantly. This was no ordinary toy. It was infused with extremely powerful eternal energy. Acting fast, Archie jumped in to protect his brother, pushing him out of the way. But it was too late. The toy launched itself into Archie's body, entered through his chest, and then exploded from his mouth. There was a violent blast. Archie's entire body was destroyed. He was gone. The toy vanished into thin air right after. This toy wasn't a random threat, it was a creation of another powerful being, someone whose eternal powers might surpass even Jojo's. Jojo realized, in that moment, that a much deadlier opponent was out there. But who it was, and how strong they were, no one knew. And with that, our story ends on this chilling suspense.